We are honored to be joined by Bob Ley. It says award-winning. You can see the awards because he has like really good Emmys. They told me that I can't have mine. He has a lot more. He's the Emmy award-winning ESPN anchor. He stepped down in 2019 after an extraordinary career as a broadcaster, now executive founder of the Center for Sports Media at Seton Hall University. Good to see you, my friend.
It's great to see you, Steve. It's been far too long.
Now, here's the thing. You're retired from ESPN, but you not only head up this Center for Sports Media, you brought A-Rod, we'll show some video in just a moment, to the students at Seton Hall, but you also gave a significant lead donation to get things moving. Why the commitment to the university, Seton Hall University, one of our higher ed partners?
It's pretty simple. Here's a scary number, for at least scary to me. It's been 50 years this fall since I first entered Seton Hall, and I've been saying this for years. I wouldn't been able to have achieved professionally what I did without the grounding and the values, the education I received at Seton Hall. And I've always tried to stay connected over the years, but especially in the last 4 or 5 years, doing events with professional and residents there, BJ Schechter, classes, events, mentoring, and basically building towards what we always felt, I think, could be formalizing a Center for Sports Media, which we're now able to do, because this entire, I have to tell you, and I'm sure your viewers are quite aware, it's changing by the week, the month, and to educate our students, provide them the tools and the values to go out there and thrive. I think it's very important.
Let me jump right into this thing. I've been thinking about this. We're taping at the end of May, be seen later. NBA playoffs going on right now. But in the middle of the playoffs, this horrific shooting, this murder, this mass murder in Texas happens. And then Steve Kerr, and you saw the video, and it's not going to get old because the issue and the problem persists. He does a press conference. It didn't matter whether Golden State won or lost. That's all he wanted to talk about. And he talked about it in a certain way. He also lost his dad to gun violence. For those who say, shut up and dribble, shut up and play, shut up and don't get involved in politics or social issues, you say what for athletes? What do you say to those folks? Including the issue of race.
Yeah, race, guns, social justice, that phrase, which strikes different people differently. Sports has been a prism through which we have looked at these issues for the last 50, 60 years, going back to the 1960s. Yes, when you tune on a basketball game, you want to watch a basketball game. And when something like that happened in Uvalde, Texas occurs, and as you mentioned, Steve's dad, Malcolm, was killed back in the 1980s in Beirut, it hits everybody like a hammer blow. And there are responsibilities in the media. He had to tell the story of that game that they played that night. And his team did lose the game, but to put it through that prism of sports and understand why it is important. It is a fine line. What people, want to just, Jason Gay, the day after that tragedy, wrote a beautiful piece in the Wall Street Journal. I want to drop a note about it, about how he almost felt guilty, he and the other parents in their Little League, watching their kids play Little League in the wake of this event, having a nice moment of respite and understanding there are families in Central Texas and will never have that moment again. So I think we have a responsibility, and that gets down to the values and to the philosophies you want to inculcate in young professionals in the field, how to tell a story, to tell it fairly, and to tell it with import, so that when you look back at it in a few years, you say, at that moment, I got it right.
What is, in your view, the place for the, quote, distraction of sport, the entertainment of sports, in light of the horrific things we're talking about, including mental health issues for athletes for whom their mental health issues are supposed to somehow, listen, that's not our business. We only care about how Naomi Osaka plays tennis, or there's a whole range of other people. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bob. I get off my soapbox.
No, but it's not a soapbox, because, Steve, I think in the last 18 months, 24 months, we have seen a greater ability and a propensity, go back 2-3 years actually, for athletes to talk about this entire field, and for, I think, the general public to embrace them. We all in the dark of the night, we all have questions and fears and things that keep us awake. And athletes are no different. And when it gets to the point of needing professional assistance, I think we have seen people embrace that. And I think look, I lived for 40 years in Connecticut and lived 45 minutes from Newtown. And we'll all feel that day forever. And I don't want to say the word privilege, but I was, through circumstances, able to be part of the first townwide event in Newtown after that shooting early in 2013. And what it was an event organized by Chris Canetti of Major League Soccer, who grew up also in Connecticut. We're a small state, of bringing soccer people from around the country, flew in on their own dime, Mia Hamm, Landon Donovan, Alexi Lawless, to do a little soccer get-together for all the kids and no media. But I was privileged to be part of the group that helped facilitate a Q&A. You could feel in that town just 4 weeks afterwards the burden of this. I have a good friend who does business in that town. I had lunch with him last summer, and to this day, it persists. I mean, these are generational scars that will live certainly with these families and these towns and these regions. And we need to do something as a people here to understand what we're doing to ourselves.
Just remember, Muhammad Ali steps down. He loses his title in the 60s as the heavyweight champion of the world, not because someone beat him, but because he refused to fight in the Vietnam War as a conscientious objector and gave up the best 3 years of his professional life. So for those who say, yeah, they're just talking, they act as well. Let me ask you, we're going to show some video of A-Rod coming to Seton Hall. Describe that.
Well, through the good offices of a fellow alum, Bardia Charest, class of 95, and a very good friend of mine, a fellow I've known since he was in high school, and works closely with Alex. Alex agreed to come in, and it was our first event as the Center for Sports Media at Seton Hall since the official establishment of it. And Alex came in on his own dime, God bless him, so generous with his time, insistent on doing numerous small sessions with students, athletes, communication students, and made sure there were business and entrepreneurial students in a small setting, Q&A, and then a larger session with 400 to 500 people at Bethany Hall. He spent 4 to 5 hours on campus. And then when it was time to go, he ended up spending another hour just walking around the baseball diamond and through Walsh Gym. He enjoyed being on campus. And it was a remarkable day because I think he got a lot from it. I know we did. And our students, I think, got a window onto a world-class athlete who was very honest about all the issues that he has been through.
Real issues.
Someone who has become quite the entrepreneur, has purchased an NBA team. And in fact, 6 weeks before he and Mark Laurie, his partner, went out and struck a deal for their club president, we got a good window onto their thinking about why he would spend that kind of money. I think it was a great example of some of the things we hope to achieve in the future at the Center for Sports Media in exposing our students to the leaders in the field and the people who are setting the trends.
And as someone who is, I continue to teach at the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall, there is nothing like, and Bob, I know you feel the same way, there is nothing like interacting with, teaching, and learning from really young students with great, very bright futures, whether it's at Seton Hall or any other.
It's the best. It's the best. When I go to campus, Steve, I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. That's the best part of it. I was on campus early this year as part of the search committee. We've hired an exceptional executive director, Jane McManus, a great journalist, a former colleague of mine who was working in this endeavor at Marist College, and now she's at Seton Hall. And I was on campus. We were doing some interviews for the hiring process, and one of the search committee members invited me to address his class, and it's in-person class. And I had missed that so much because of the pandemic, but that energy, that Q&A, it energizes. So you hope the students get as much as you get from having that dialogue.
That's Bob Ley. He is a giant in our industry, not just because he broadcast about sports for 40 years, but he talked about bigger issues as well, and now at Seton Hall. Hey, thank you, my friend. All the best, Bob.
It is always great to see you, Steve. Thank you.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Bank of America, Veolia, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, MD Advantage Insurance Company. Choose New Jersey. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Summit Health. The Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. And by Delta Dental of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. And by bestofnj.com.
Choosing a new family doctor can be confusing. Check with your health insurer to see which physicians near you participate with your plan. Find out which hospitals the doctor uses and who covers when the doctor is away. And remember to schedule an appointment with your new doctor in advance to fill out any paperwork without the added stress of being sick.